Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Max Sports Entertainment. My name is Deepak Shankar, and here we have a recap of Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Sorry about not getting the video out sooner. Monday and Tuesday we're a little bit busy, but a little bit of a nice midweek post since a little bit more time available, and figured I might as well do it now. And so yeah, just doing it on a Tuesday night with not a whole lot of work to do on Wednesday and just in general. So I figured I might as well do it now before delaying it too long. So again, my apologies for that. And the sports world is going crazy. I mean, you got the NBA Finals, you got the Stanley Cup, where the Hurricanes won in 6 games over the Vegas Golden Knights for their Stanley Cup title, for their second Stanley Cup title, and then you had the Women's T20 World Cup that's starting, and so that's gotten off to a good start in terms of the big matches. India over Pakistan, another easy win for us, making it, I believe it's 25-3 with men's and women's World Cups, T20 and ODI. In terms of India and Pakistan, I think all-time head-to-head, so just an astounding number. So India and Smriti Mandhana taking care of business as usual, and then Australia defeating South Africa. And then New Zealand actually starting off 0-2, which is surprising to see. So we'll get more into the T20 World Cup as it goes, since the NBA Finals is over now. So we'll kind of transition into that. And then also, obviously, the biggest sporting event in the world, the FIFA World Cup. And so, like I said in the last video, I believe, I'm not the biggest soccer fan, but, it's the World Cup. Everyone's watching. So you kind of looking at the scores, watching whatever you can, placing a few bets, if you will. So that's always been fun. And so it's gotten off to a good start. I mean, Holland for Norway, 2 goals today. Mbappe, 2 goals. Messi with a hat trick today. So today was crazy. And then the day before, you had Cape Verde drawing against Spain. And last week, USA big win over Paraguay 4-1. And then outside of that, pretty standard results, but long way to go in that tournament. And we'll potentially get more into that, especially if the U.S. makes a run, which would be awesome for just like the national unity and whatnot of the country. And so hopefully that does happen, being on home soil and getting off to a good start. So we might get more into that, especially if the U.S. makes it farther than they've ever been in terms of on the men's side in the FIFA World Cup. If they get to like the quarterfinals, semifinals, etc., definitely would cover that. But in the meantime, going to recap for this video the NBA Finals. Then in the short term, I'm going to look at the Women's T20 Cricket World Cup. And so, yeah, Game 5, the Knicks win the NBA Finals. They get their first championship in 53 years. They beat the Spurs 4-1, and they win Game 5 94-90 in San Antonio. Jalen Brunson wins Finals MVP, and he was the story of this game. I mean, he was dominant. The Knicks scored 94 points, and he scored 45. So basically scored half their points. Ultra efficient, super aggressive, and executed very well in terms of the clutch yet again in the fourth quarter. And so didn't have a whole lot of help. Mikal Bridges, 14 points. He was pretty good. Karl Anthony Towns, only 2 points, but did get 10 boards, 3 steals, so did whatever he could, even though his shot wasn't falling. Josh Hart, 13 points. He chipped in. A little bit of a quieter game for OG Anunoby, 11 points on 11 shots. But really the story was Jalen Brunson, and it was, again, one of those games where it felt like I was watching the same movie, like 5 games in a row almost, or definitely in the 4 games that the Knicks won. Spurs get off to a good start. They get a double-digit lead in the first quarter yet again. Knicks come back in the second quarter. The Spurs take control in the third quarter, and then the Spurs totally self-destruct in the fourth quarter. And then the Knicks make a furious comeback and then end up winning. And it was the same old story here tonight. So, yeah, just a great performance by them despite not shooting well. I believe they only had, 13 points in the first quarter and through the first, 17, 18 minutes of the game. I mean, it looked like they were going to score less than 60 points, but they picked it up as the game went on, started to hit more threes, and shot just well enough and then defended just well enough to be able to win the game for the Spurs. Like I said, the same old story, but on the losing side. Wemby started off well, had 5 blocks in the first quarter and a half of the game, and then was playing really well offensively, was attacking, was being aggressive, but then as the game went on, he got worse. Lost a shot. He took 6 threes, only made one. 19 points on 19 shots. So definitely not his best game. Champagny was good, had 14 points with 4 threes. Devin Vassell was pretty good, 12 points. Dylan Harper off the bench, once again, fantastic, 25 points on 10 of 19 from the field with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. So you could argue he was their most consistent player throughout the NBA Finals. He was magnificent, especially as a rookie coming in off the bench. And he kind of even expressed it where, maybe the series would have been different if he had been starting the last couple of games or even the whole series instead of De'Aaron Fox, because he felt like he had been playing better, and he had been. And so I think Devin Vassell had voiced that frustration on his behalf at the end of the game. But that's not the move Mitch Johnson went with. And the Spurs suffered in part because of it, because De'Aaron Fox, 7 points, 3 of 15 shooting. Just not his best game, not his best series, and the Spurs will really look back on the series as a major missed opportunity. And it's because to have the lead for, I saw 72% of the series, and then only win 1 game and lose 3 games at home. And obviously a lot of that is an experience, not having been there before. And I've heard a lot of people argue that, but I would say that it's just a lack of execution on top of that, as well as arguably as big of a factor, if not more of a factor, because the Knicks, I know they're older, more seasoned veterans. They've had the trials and tribulations of the playoffs already, in the Spurs, kind of just first time in the playoffs in a while, in 7 years, making the finals, getting all the way to this point. But the Knicks hadn't had any NBA Finals experience either. I mean, you can say OG Anunoby, but he was injured during the Raptors playoff run, so he didn't play. So this was his first sort of championship-winning playoff run, despite having those 2 rings. And so it just was a lack of execution, not a lack of a go-to guy or a go-to player to whatever it may be, where they just could not score in the fourth quarter. And you give the Knicks enough opportunities. They're too good of an offensive team. Jalen Brunson's too clutch. And he's just going to make you pay. The Knicks are going to make you pay, and that's exactly what they did. They win the NBA championship. Scenes in New York were absolutely insane. A bunch of celebrities that were supporting the Knicks also in attendance for Game 5 as well. They win their first championship since 1973. Brunson wins Finals MVP. And just a huge weight lifted off New York's shoulders. Despite it being a gentleman's sweep 5-game series, it really was a great series. The ratings I was seeing, it was the most watched NBA Finals on ABC ever, and then the most watched NBA Finals since 1998, with Jordan and the Bulls versus Karl Malone and the Jazz, and then Jordan hitting that shot as his final shot as a Chicago Bulls. So series did numbers, very competitive series. Every game came down to the wire. So many memorable moments and storylines, and so. For the Knicks, a big relief, Jalen Brunson having taken that pay cut a couple years ago of $100 million or so to allow the Knicks to have more flexibility with making trades, like the Mikal Bridges trade, the Karl Anthony Towns trade, the OG Anunoby trade. And so it gave them that flexibility. They made the right moves, the front office. They fired Tibbs, and they could have kept him easily after they made their first conference finals in about 25 years last year, but they fired him, got an upgrade at coach with Mike Brown. All the pieces fell into place, and it paid dividends. So definitely hats off to the Knicks. And then the Spurs, hats off to the Knicks for, accomplishing a lifelong dream for many Knicks fans, many players on the team, their first NBA championship. So very emotional, rightfully so, reactions from, all the players, coaches, fans, you name it. So, the Knicks hang on. They are the NBA champions, and it was kind of fitting that actually for the first time, the Knicks beat the Spurs in the in-season tournament final, and they beat the Spurs in the NBA Finals. So they were just a better team, more experienced team, especially down the stretch late in games. And really that's where the series was won and lost. And for the Spurs, a lot of that, but on the other end where it was a great run, and I think, oftentimes they say for certain runs, you never know, they may not be back. I think the Spurs will be back. We'll see, but obviously you never know. It's not guaranteed. But what a playoff run they had. Wemby announcing himself to the world. And then, Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox. Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper. were unbelievable as young players. The youngest starting five in the history of the NBA playoffs, and I think the second youngest team to ever make the NBA Finals. So, unbelievable run for them. They have a lot to look forward to, a super bright future. So I think if you're a Spurs fan, you shouldn't be too down in the dumps or anything like that. Obviously, you wish you had won the championship, but I think they'll be back for years to come. They're young. They've got assets. They've got a good front office. And so maybe there's some questions about what you do with De'Aaron Fox and Mitch Johnson, but I think the core pieces are there, both with stars and young players, role players ascending. And so I think this was just a necessary experience for them. I believe Wemby had mentioned that in the post game, that this finals was the biggest learning lesson of his life. So definitely he'll have to work on his game a little bit more, refine it, especially offensively, being a little bit more consistent, finding one or two go-to moves, and just building off of that, and then making a few moves for the Spurs with just developing players, then also free agency draft, get some more young guys in there, and just another year or two of experience. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs are back in the finals next year, the year after, whatever it may be. So hats off to them on an incredible season. I mean, they took out the defending champions in the Western Conference Finals with the Thunder. They took out the back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearing Minnesota Timberwolves. So, just a great playoff run for them. I think they'll be back, and it'll be a great learning experience, like Wemby said. And so, a lot to learn from, a lot to build off of with the foundation they laid this year throughout the regular season and playoffs, winning 60 games. And so, that's all I had. And so, and then the Knicks, their playoff run, they finished 16-3, one of the all-time dominant playoff runs in terms of plus-minus, point differential, you name it. I believe Karl-Anthony Towns had the highest plus-minus of any player in NBA playoff history. They won 13 straight games, second longest streak in NBA history. So, just an all-around memorable run for the Knicks, and one of the greatest moments for New York sports fans ever. And so really I would argue this is their team. And, they have two teams technically in New York, and then same with all the other sports. But I think the difference is that in New York, everybody rallies around the Knicks. I think they're kind of divided: football, Jets, Giants; baseball, Yankees, Mets; hockey, Islanders, and Rangers. Yeah. And so they're divided on those other three sports, but in New York, it's all the Knicks. And so, the scenes were electric, and the parade, I'm sure, coming up here on Thursday will be electric as well. Millions of people showing up. So, good for them. And, that's all I had. Appreciate you guys for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on post notifications, all that good stuff. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I'll be working on more coverage of the Women's T20 World Cup and potentially some FIFA World Cup coverage as we get further on in the tournament, especially if the U.S. makes a run. So we'll see about that. But, a lot to look forward to in the sports world as always. And so, thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.